It is 6 p.m. in Fumban, the Nous division of the West region of Cameroon. Same time in Boya, chief town of the Southwest region. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Our major stories tonight: civil society actors are hitting out at President Paul Biya's relief aid to victims of the Gidado attack in Nous subdivision, saying the gesture, though appreciated, misses the point. Instead of gifts, they are crying out for security in their area, wanting peace to reign. They are questioning the timing and nature of the aid, emphasizing that what's needed most is protection and also stability. Away from that, we'll tell you how members of the National Assembly, members of the National Assembly are mourning Laurentine Fegue, the CPDM's eldest parliamentarian, who passed away yesterday. The outspoken lawmaker was known for speaking out against scandals and urging her peers to help improve Cameroon's image. In her recent appearances, she conscientized fellow parliamentarians to play their part in these efforts. Those are top stories tonight. Good evening and thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for staying with us. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fegue. Begin with our major lead story tonight. Civil society actors are criticizing President Paul Biya's response to the Gidado attack, saying the government's relief is not enough. Instead of just giving gifts, they want the government to ensure their area is secure and safe. They are worried that the focus is on aid instead of addressing the root cause of the problem, which is insecurity. Details with Fomi Armstrong-Sander.
Society actor Tancho Edward is among Cameroonians who think that President Paul Biya should prioritize efforts that will bring a lasting solution to the armed conflicts in the Anglophone regions over providing material aid to victims of unending violence like the recent case of Gidado in Nous subdivision.
What the people need most, especially in the Anglophone region, especially in Nous subdivision and the victims of in this Gidado, they need peace. The people need peace more than gifts now, because there is no amount of money that can buy peace, and there is no amount of gifts that can buy peace. So the people, when the people are in peace, they will have more gifts. They themselves will work for themselves, and they will get whatsoever they want. And even the little that the head of state or the government will give them, they will enjoy it in peace, because there is no amount of gift, no amount of money that you enjoy in crisis.
A view which is not like melody from a strange land, but a true reflection of the desires of the people on the ground.
One is peace. Yes. It's peace. We need peace. We see all these things, but one, we need peace. If there is no peace, all this is. We need peace. That's right. Yes.
Since 2016, the Anglophone crisis has cost over 6,000 lives, 77,000 refugees in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and over 600,000 internally displaced persons across Cameroon.
Fomi Armstrong-Sander reporting over there. And the eldest member of parliament, Laurentine Fegue, is no more. According to reports from the National Assembly, she passed on yesterday, January 22nd. And Nabila comes back to some pertinent outings of Laurentine Fegue, in which she conscientized her fellow parliamentarians to stop misusing the country's resources but work for a better Cameroon. Her report.
The late eldest member of parliament, Laurentine Fegue, spoke without mincing words on the lapses observed in parliamentary actions and loopholes noted in the Cameroonian society. In almost all her public outings, she consciously called on public servants to work for the good of all and sundry and ensure to leave behind a country and its state of affairs better than they met it.
Nous devons plutôt jurer de laisser la patrie meilleure que nous ne l'avons reçue.
She criticized boldly and brought to public eye the numerous difficulties Cameroonians face on a daily basis, ranging from poor road networks, frequent power cuts, and other energy constraints.
Nos villes se meurent étouffées par des montagnes d'immondices. Les routes des mêmes villes Les coupures intempestives d'électricité.
Laurentine Fegue in March last year had also decried the numerous corruption scandals in Cameroon, like that of the Olympic Stadium, the COVID funds, the murder of Martinez Zogo, the assassination of the Bishop of Bafia, Monseigneur Jean-Marie Benoît Bala, among several other scandals.
Affaire de l'assassinat de Monseigneur Jean-Marie Benoît Bala, ancien évêque de Bafia. Affaire de l'assassinat du journaliste Martinez Zogo. Affaire, etc.
Just before last year's presidential election, the eldest member of parliament conscientized her peers to work with a guided spirit and not leave the beloved country in ruins.
Que ceux qui sont en charge de la gestion de la chose publique puissent faire preuve de patriotisme et de rectitude morale.
Laurentine Fegue, despite her wishes for a better Cameroon, leaves the scene definitely, leaving behind a country still plagued with all the ills she castigated, with very little or no hope for a positive change anytime soonest.
Staff Lady Annabella reporting there. Meanwhile, a meeting was held yesterday at the Unity Palace between the Douala Port Authority and also the Ministry of Finance, resulting in a decision to strictly enforce the President's directives. Going forward, Transatlantic D is the only company allowed to scan containers at Douala Port. Custom officials have been notified, and also port operations will return to normal soonest. Sedu Chakutiu has more details.
According to the instructions of President Paul Biya, Transatlantic D should be the institution in charge of scanning operations in the port of Douala Bonaberi. This is the main recommendation stemming from the meeting held on January 22nd at the Presidential Palace, chaired by the technical advisor Jean-Claude Ayem, regarding the conflict between the Port Authority of Douala and the Ministry of Finance over non-intrusive cargo scanning operations. Aware of the national security stakes and the financial challenge facing the port, the head of state had on March 20th, 2025 given his full approval for the replacement of SGS, then in charge of these operations, with the new operator Transatlantic D for the security of the Port Authority of Douala. While an institutional war had been observed since the launch of operations on January 2nd, 2026, this reminder of the rules was necessary not only to clarify rules but above all to relieve economic operators who were beginning to tire of the double taxation to which they had been subjected since then. This direct intervention underscores the strategic importance of the Port of Douala to the national economy. In the midst of 2026, a year marked by major growth challenges, the government cannot afford a prolonged paralysis of its main maritime gateway. Business operators who have been denouncing exorbitant charges since December due to these delays are now waiting to see if these instructions will have an immediate impact on the ground. However, despite the arrival of the new operator recognized by the Port Authority of Douala, some administrations continue to use the old billing system linked to the former institution.
And in other news, the extraordinary summit of the CEMAC heads of state that opened on Thursday, January 22nd in Congo-Brazzaville has concluded with major recommendations dished out to members of countries to resolutely implement for the revival of the economy of the sub-region. International financial partners were implored to support the development drive of the CEMAC sub-region threatened by the economic, financial and also monetary shocks. Details with Innocent Aze.
The extraordinary summit of the CEMAC heads of state came just 4 months after the last ordinary session, highlighting the severity of the economic situation of the sub-region. The summit was convened to find solutions to the urgent economic, financial and monetary shocks threatening the sub-region. In his opening address, the acting president of CEMAC, Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of Congo briefly presented the economic and financial situation of the sub-region vis-à-vis global trends of events. Today, our economies register a positive growth. The inflation curve is witnessing an appraising drop in the CEMAC sub-region. This encouraging evolution was only perturbed by instability in the world. The present summit gives CEMAC the opportunity to forge ahead and act responsibly to the application of the decisions arrived at during the previous extraordinary sessions of 2016, 2021 and 2024 to revive the economy of the sub-region. During the extraordinary summit, major recommendations were made, with the CEMAC member countries exhorted to guarantee the coherence of the finance laws and the engagements of states, notably with the International Monetary Fund, and assure their compatibility to uphold debts, negotiate and conclude or proceed the finance and economic programs with the International Monetary Fund, reinforce the communication of statistics, notably those related to the management of public finances, accelerate the setting up of unique accounts of treasuries and the digitalization of public finances, preserve the independence of COBAC and reinforce the role of the institution, accelerate the functioning of the import substitution strategy of the CEMAC sub-region. President Denis Sassou Nguesso affirmed the will of the CEMAC heads of state to resolutely put into action the recommendations adopted. President Denis Sassou Nguesso also called on bilateral and international financial partners to support the efforts of CEMAC geared towards development. Cameroon's President Paul Biya was one of the presidents represented during the urgent summit attended by presidents of other CEMAC member countries.
And now let's talk sports. The countdown begins. In less than a month, Buea will host the legendary Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. The local organizing committee led by the Southwest Governor Bernard Okalabilai confirms the main event is set for February 21st. Efforts are underway to iron out last year's challenges, particularly the issue of athletes running despite being declared medically unfit. Rex Afona, Buea-based chief correspondent, has more on the preparations.
In approximately 1 month, athletes from Cameroon and beyond will be challenging the chariots of the gods to see who emerges as the king and queen of the mountain. The Mount Cameroon Race of Hope 2026 edition will be run on Saturday, the 21st of February. The local organizing committee, headed by the governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalabilai, has already started intensifying preparations.
We have already sent the persons concerned of cleaning the mountain to go up the mountain to make sure that they get a proper race track for this pre-selective race before the main race. Partners, MTN Cameroon is already hoisting the banners to publicize the Race of Hope, and the security are aware. We're written to them to make them know what we're about to do.
Amongst the irregularities of last year's edition was the fact that some athletes who were declared medically unfit were still given the pass to run, a risky move which, if not for the mercy of the Almighty, could have proven fatal. This year, measures will be tightened in that regard.
48 hours to the medical to the beginning of the race to do all medical checks and to make sure that we close the medical examinations way before time and give the athletes enough rest to make sure that they can recuperate for the race. Some people went behind to say that they had gone through the medical test without presenting the documents that validated for the medical test. So this time around, the medical reports are going to go directly to the commission.
Governor Bernard Okalabilai, who chaired the first preparatory meeting, has called on the different stakeholders involved to do their very best to ensure proper organization, considering the contest is international.
That sports element done by Rex Afona, chief correspondent in Buea, put an end to tonight's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Thank you so much for your keen attention. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye for now.